selection. Because I actually want some of that to curve around so I have a little bit of a softer edge there. So let's try yet another filter. So we did some of the blurs. Let's try some of the noise. So this means is that, we want to reduce the noise. So if you just got a little bit of noise, you could do this noise reduction, and you'll see it kind of gets rid of some of the pixels, but that's not enough. I'll just say okay, and that didn't really do much for me. But if we go to dusted noise and dust and scratches, this one you can actually, here's the preview again. And this is taking a little while, but so that's not too bad, but it's still not quite right what I wanted. But it got rid of a lot of the inconsistencies. Actually, I'll just leave that, and then I'll try also blurring it. I'm going to copy this, paste it, and so now I've got my own another little layer. I'm going to do this one where I lock it because I want to blur. I'm going to do the Gaussian blur. That's quite a bit, but so now because I've built this up in all these little pieces, one thing I can do is actually go back to my original layer, which has my table surface, because you see this edge looks pretty funky, right? Right in here. And I want that to look a little cleaner. So I could do a couple different things, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push some of my background into that with the that same healing brush. But in this case, maybe I'm going to actually use my this is a clone brush. So the clone one will take an area and kind of copy it and then blend it into another area. So I copied something that's pretty close to where I was, and now I'm just going to clone the table surface up and around and see how that's all of a sudden really cleaning up that edge. Because I basically, once I turn the front off, you'll see I'm basically pushing that table surface back into the model to get rid of that little ugly edge right there.
Did you say you selected the table surface?
Yeah, so I used the option to make a little, and then I got to pick wisely, because I don't want to pick, like some big old ugly part and then clone that.
But so you're sampling in that tool, it's not running on a paintbrush, right? Or dropper, I mean?
Correct. When I hold down option, you see the little cursor turns into a different thing, so that's where I'm selecting. And then I just click where I want, and so like here, I want that little scratch, let's say. Now when I paint over here, what? It should have done that. Oh, because, you know why? Because I'm on lighten only. So let's go back to normal. There we go. So if I like that scratch, I could move it around.
Do you do the same thing for your stapler part?
Did I, or could it?
Or could you?
That one's really finicky to use. Because a lot of times, like if you pick an area that's got shadow and then you go out of it, like here, let's just try, we'll clone a little bit of this area out here. And see, it doesn't do that kind of automatic adjusting. So it's really good for kind of close-up areas where you're really working right next to somewhere that it's going to.
So how would you clean up the part, like the metal piece?
This whole part here? Yeah, that's why I was saying clean it up first, because it will do it. So I can come in here, and probably what I'll do is make another little, so I've got my soft layer, and I'm probably just going to like start doing a little bit of illustration here. I'm actually coming, I'm not sure where exactly I want it, but I'm going to make a selection that's that bottom edge. Pick a dark color from somewhere on here, like a sample, something that's darker than this. Maybe down in here. And I'm just going to airbrush that in. And now, I'm painting on one layer that's behind another layer, so it's if I turn off this top layer, you'll see it's kind of, I just made a big funky mess. But that's covering up part of it, so I'm just getting that little bottom edge. But do you see, like, those edges can make the difference? Like just putting that little edge on there, do you see how the stapler is starting to kind of come together? It's the big surfaces are, you know, like, yeah, okay, that got me halfway there, but the little edges are the ones that really start to pull it together. So another thing I did already, and I'm just going to jump over here, is I made the little strike plate. I copied that from another photograph that I took of the stapler, and I just throw that in there. And I took that at the same time, the same lighting, so it should be, in fact, you can see, this is from a different stapler. You can see the front of the stapler in there is almost looks like it's a little more yellow, but unfortunately the perspective's a little bit off on this, right? So let's do some, where's that layer? Right here? Yeah. So I'm going to create a layer mask, because the problem is, let me just do it while I'm to explain to you. So I'm going to create just a quick mask here of this whole surface, but without the stapler part. So I'm actually, because I want to slide that under this little thing, so I'm just carefully making this selection. This is really the key part that I'm concerned about, is this little stapler front end. So I have this selection, and now I'm going to go back to this guy, turn him on. Oh, I should have done this first. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. Is it this one? So there's under the, I think I can still do this. Let me try. Underneath this palette, there's all these little icons, and this one here is layer mask. And so I turn that on. You'll see, you don't see anything happen right away, but it made a mask of that area. And so theoretically, oh, I'm in the wrong layer too. Sorry. Let me do this. Okay, because this is a very straight edge selection, I can actually turn this into a path. I'm going to just do this because I want to keep it. So I'm going to say, what is it? Make a work path. So that's a selection I already made, and then I'll just keep the defaults and say make it into a work path. And now I've got a little, you know, path tool. We'll call this plate. And so now, got my little strike plate. I'm going to select it, and I can just go Command A. It's selecting that whole palette, I mean that whole entire canvas, but that's the only thing on it. And so now I can copy that, copy it. Now I'm going to turn that layer off. Now I'm going to go to my, whoops, that's a copy of that. I'm going to go to this layer is where I really want to do this. And I'm going to go back to my paths, turn that plate layer on, make a selection by clicking this little icon down here, go back to my layers. While this is all selected, I'm going to say, actually let's do it this way, I'll say paste into, or paste special, paste into. So I've got a selection, and now I'm going to paste my thing into that selection, and that automatically makes me a mask. And you'll see what the reason I'm doing this is because I can move this thing now, and you see how it's moving under the stapler? And now I can kind of, I did Command T gives me these little handlebars, and now I can just kind of adjust it ever so slightly, maybe shrink it down a teeny bit. And all the while it's underneath this.
So Command T, is that just like the black arrow?
Command T gives me these little transform tools, right? So, and then I'll hit Enter when I like it where it is. And now, sometimes putting those little details in there initially will help you feel like, wow, I'm getting somewhere, and I'll be excited about working on it some more. So, because I can put that in the last thing I do, but doing it earlier on is good. So, I've got this funky edge on here too, and I'd probably do something where, let's do this another way. So I'm going to make a selection that's kind of soft, and that's what the feather radius is. I'll just do a 10-point selection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this whole surface behind here, and then go back and make sure I'm in the right layer that I want to be in, which is this one. And I'm just going to move that surface down a little bit. By holding down Option, I'm making a copy of it. And so it's an extra little piece. Like if I moved it up, you'd see the clay. But what I'm trying to do is actually move it down so this goes right behind my edge. But I get enough wood surface. So now the top edge is really clean because I've moved my wood behind my little floating piece. So if I get rid of this, I've actually shoved it down. It looks a little shorter. So basically, these are the kind of steps. I would do the same step for the top here and the side. And I'm going to stop my recording real quick here and then go into 2 so it doesn't get too long.
Can you also show the last step just there?
Uh-oh. I know, I see that. I got my... How do you stop it? Help! I need to stop my recording. There it is. Come on. Come on up. Come on. Don't play with me. I'll trim this part off.